Most people feel pretty confident that they've got an emergency fund until an actual emergency shows up and exposes all the gaps they didn't even realize were there. And honestly, it's usually not because people don't try. It's because the small, sneaky mistakes are the ones that end up hurting the most. And this matters because an emergency fund isn't just a stack of cash sitting somewhere. It's what decides whether a crisis becomes a temporary inconvenience or a long setback. The difference between the two often comes down to a few simple choices that are easy to overlook when life gets busy. But before we jump into the biggest mistakes people make with their emergency funds, feel free to like this video to support the channel and subscribe for more financial content just like this. Why many people underestimate emergencies? A lot of people assume that emergencies follow convenient timing or fit neatly into their expectations. But real life tends to do the exact opposite. A job loss right after a medical bill, a car repair right before rent is due, or multiple small issues happening in the same month. Those situations reveal how fragile most emergency plans really are. What's interesting is that people usually don't fail because they don't save. They fail because they don't prepare for the kind of emergencies that actually show up in the real world. Let's go through what tends to create those gaps. 1. Keeping the wrong amount. One of the biggest mistakes is assuming that one fixed number works for everyone. Some people keep way too little because they heard $1,000 is fine. Others keep way too much because they don't really know where the balance is between safety and opportunity. What's worth considering is that the right amount is usually a range, not a rule. It relates to income stability, dependence, lifestyle, location, and even personality. Someone with fluctuating income may need a larger cushion than someone with a predictable paycheck. And on the other side, some people build such a large emergency fund that it slows down all their other goals. Not wrong, but it does limit growth. The mistake isn't the size. It is to not match the size to real life. 2. Using the wrong place to store it. Another common problem is keeping the emergency fund somewhere that doesn't match the purpose. Some people keep it in checking, where it blends into daily spending and slowly disappears without noticing. Others put it into an investment account, thinking the growth will help. But the moment the market drops at the same time an emergency hits, the timing becomes awful. The point of an emergency fund isn't to make money. It's to be there when life shows up unannounced. Accessibility and safety usually matter more than returns. Still, people often choose whatever is convenient without considering how they'll feel when they need the money fast. 3. Treating the emergency fund like a backup budget. This one happens quietly. Someone dips into the emergency fund just a little for non-emergencies. Maybe a birthday gift, or a weekend plan, or a small upgrade that feels harmless. The mindset slowly shifts from "this is for unexpected crises" to "this is my flexible backup money." Then, the moment a real emergency arrives, the fund isn't ready. It's interesting how tiny exceptions create predictable long-term consequences. The mistake isn't spending it, it's redefining it without noticing. 4. Not refreshing or adjusting it. People build an emergency fund once and then leave it untouched for years. But life changes. Cost of living rises, rent goes up, medical costs shift, insurance plans change, and responsibilities increase. An emergency fund that made sense 2 years ago may not fit current reality. Many people forget to update their safety net as their life evolves. And by the time they need it, the numbers don't match the new world they're living in. It's not about constantly rebuilding it. It's about keeping it aligned with the present instead of the past. 5. Relying on future income instead of actual savings. Some people feel comfortable with a very small emergency fund because they believe their job is stable or they'll just save more later. The hidden issue is that emergencies don't wait for the perfect timing. They don't check savings accounts, job security, or optimism. Depending on future income is a quiet risk because it assumes that the future will cooperate. And most people get caught off guard when the timing doesn't go their way. The mistake isn't confidence. It's assuming that confidence equals control. This point is especially true for people who do not have a stable income, which means you have to be 10 times more careful. 6. Not having a plan for multiple emergencies at once. Most people plan for one emergency, not 2 or 3 stacked together. But life tends to cluster problems. A car repair plus a dental bill, plus reduced hours at work in the same month can drain a poorly structured emergency fund extremely fast. People often prepare for the single event, but not the chain reaction. The mistake isn't failing to imagine everything. It's forgetting that emergencies often travel in groups. 7. Misunderstanding what actually counts as an emergency. A surprising number of people use their emergency fund for things that are more predictable than they seem. Annual expenses like car maintenance, school supplies, holiday costs, or renewals often feel like emergencies, but they're actually normal yearly events that should be planned separately. When predictable expenses get mixed into the emergency fund, the line between unexpected and expected disappears. This makes the fund drain faster and rebuild slower. The mistake isn't spending it, it's mixing categories until everything feels urgent. 8. Forgetting about emotional behavior around money. Saving money is one thing. Using it under stress is something completely different. People often underestimate how emotions will influence them during an emergency. Panic can lead to overspending. Fear can lead to freezing and not taking action. Confusion can lead to making the situation more expensive. The emergency fund isn't just financial protection, it's emotional protection. But it only works when someone understands how they behave under pressure and prepares for that. The mistake isn't emotional reactions. It's not recognizing them ahead of time. 9. Only preparing for financial emergencies, not logistical ones. Money matters, but access matters too. Someone might have a great emergency fund, but no way to transfer it easily, no backup payment method, or no plan for emergencies that happen while traveling, moving, or dealing with technical issues. An emergency fund isn't only about having money, it's also about making sure that money can actually be used when it's needed. The mistake here is assuming that money automatically equals readiness. So, to keep it simple, many people think they're protected because they have something saved. But the real issues usually come from how that money is managed, where it's kept, how it's used, and how it adapts to the changes in their lives. The mistakes we looked at aren't about big failures. They're the small, easy-to-miss habits that quietly weaken the safety net over time. And the good part is, when people notice these things early, they can fix them long before an actual emergency tests the system. If you want, comment below with the emergency fund mistake you see the most often in people around you, or even the one you realized you were making without noticing. Conversations like that actually help others see things they might have missed. And if you enjoyed this kind of breakdown, feel free to subscribe. There's more financial content coming, and it's all designed to make things clearer and easier to think about. See you later.